Hello and how you doing, and welcome back to another episode of Two Jagoffs. I am your host, Austin Carnes, right back here in Point Park's ever so beautiful media hub. And ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is going to be one of my favorites of all time. This is about 3 months in the making, I would say. We have the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates in the building, a fellow Point Park pioneer, Mr. Greg Brown. Greg, it is so good to have you on, my friend. How's it going?
Austin, thanks for finally getting me on here. It took me forever, begged you to invite me. Finally, you did. I know you're busy, and our schedules came together. But this is an unbelievable studio. This was not the studio that I recall having available when I was a student. In fact, there was no studio like this. This is tremendous, though.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Very cool.
Yeah, Point Park has definitely graced us with this beautiful media hub and so many great broadcasting stuff. But, I mean, what a hell of a career you've had, Greg. And, I mean, we're going to talk about that today. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is your first real public appearance since the Pirates season has ended, talking some
baseball.
Yeah,
I'd say it's gone. People ask me all the time, Austin, what we do during the off season, and I can't. In fact, I was with Joe Block yesterday. We had a meeting at the ballpark. And we both could not believe that it's been over a week. It's been about 10 days since we've last played a Major League Baseball game, and we're working a game. It feels like an hour ago. It's going so fast. That's the way off seasons are, though. So much goes on off season that keeps us busy. It's not like the regular grind of a baseball season, of course. It's different, but it's still busy and keeps us going. And I love the off season. I love the fall weather, which is upon us. I love the seasons, changing of the seasons, and it's a chance to unwind and get away from the daily grind.
Yeah, of course. And before you know it, spring training will be back.
Yep. It's remarkable, and there'll be so much news going on between now and spring training, and we're going to report early next year because the World Baseball Classic returns, which means that the teams will report a little bit earlier, start games a little bit earlier, allow for players to leave camps in a couple weeks into it to get involved in that World Baseball Classic. The regular baseball season starts earlier, I think, than ever before. So it will be here lickety-split.
Lickety-split. Well, there's a lot to talk about today on the podcast. And I want to start off talking about you first because a lot of people don't know this, but off camera, me and you've actually met up several times off camera. We went to Starbucks together to have a chat.
They're shutting it down. Did you see that?
They're shutting it down?
Yeah.
No.
Starbucks is shutting down a couple hundred around the country, and one is the one that we were at.
We got to find a new Starbucks now.
I know it.
We need to find a new Starbucks.
Yeah, yep.
But no, we met at Starbucks. We went to that charity dinner for Point Park University.
That's where I first met you, I think. Yeah.
That is where I first met you. I was at the table with you and Steve Blass, and I think Michael McHenry was there too.
I believe so.
Yes.
Mike Fetchko was there. Yep.
Legendary Mike Fetchko. And then we've also, you came to class several times to kind of help out and show different people around campus and stuff like that. But today's going to be extra special because you've shared so many great stories with me, and one of them that I wanted to have you share with my audience, if that's okay, is your beginning. Where did this broadcasting begin for you, and where did your love for the Pittsburgh Pirates start?
Well, the love for the Pirates started, I guess maybe it came together at the same time. I loved sport. My two favorite sports, Austin, I say this all the time. I had two loves in my life through grade school and high school. People may call it weird. I guess I was a weirdo. My two loves were baseball, football, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Chicago Bears. That was my life, and that's all I cared about. And I loved playing the sports. I played intramural basketball. I played the high school baseball, but touch football, but not organized those sports. But when I did play them with my buddies to this day back in central Pennsylvania say that they had the unique perspective of not only playing in a contest, a game, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, what it might be, but they also had a built-in broadcaster to broadcast the games play-by-play. It was I who was doing the game. So I would play and broadcast at the same time. I just couldn't help myself. So I know I'd be Brown back to pass. He finds McHale, touchdown. Brown with the assist from 3-point land. Brown, or whoever it might be, and I loved the art of broadcasting, and I love the sports, those two teams in particular. Grew up in central Pennsylvania, as I said. My father introduced me to baseball. I ended up falling off my bike at the age of 10, I think it was. Broke my elbow, was in traction in the hospital on my back for 2 weeks. Miserable. It was a really bad break, and a good break in the sense that my father promised me that if I'd be a better patient, that he would take me with him to Pittsburgh, where he had business. He was in the coal industry. And he started taking me to during the week, his seminars, his meetings. I wouldn't go to the meetings. I'd hang out at the hotel where visiting team players would stay, right at the Point. I don't know what it's called now. I think it's the Wyndham. It was the old Hilton Hotel. I'd stay, I hung around, and in this day and age, Austin, you wouldn't imagine that a parent would do this. It'd be like you call child abuse or whatever. They would call child services, but my father would just drop me off in the lobby and go to the meetings all day that he had, and I would just run around the lobby. He also must have paid a bellman by the name of Mr. Seminator, who, after I arrived in Pittsburgh as a broadcaster in 1994, a couple years later, I looked him up. I don't think I ever spoke to him. I think I spoke to a member of his family, maybe his son, because he was in bad shape by then and passed away shortly after that. But how about that? I remember the name of the bellman who was kind of like almost my babysitter. So my father must have tipped him and said, watch my son, as I ran around getting autographs for the visiting team players. Fell in love with the sport. Got to go to these games once a year from Pittsburgh. In high school, wasn't a terribly great student, but I did practice in my room, according to my older brothers. I'm one of 7 kids, 5 older brothers, 1 younger sister, and they all contend that I was in my bedroom after classes pretending I was in the middle of a baseball game, and you could hear the door would be closed, but I would be announcing a game. I played APA baseball cards, and I would announce as I played the game, the Pirates versus the Phillies. My brother and I would play wiffle ball in the back yard, and I would, again, announce. I would impersonate the other announcers that I could hear. Listen to Harry Callis in Philadelphia. Lanny Fratteri and Milo Hamilton were the Pirate broadcasters. I fell in love with them. Jack Buck in St. Louis. And then out of high school, I was going to community college, Penn State in Harrisburg campus, not knowing really what I was going to do with my life. When I heard on the radio one winter's night, the Pirate Caravan was traveling to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I would, Austin, back then, it's hard to imagine, but back then, there no online stuff and no computers, no nothing. You had a transistor radio. I'm sure you've heard those stories.
Yep.
Where you would, in my case, I would try and listen to KDK 1020, a 10,000 watt station out of Pittsburgh. And on a clear winter's night, it was better in the summer, but on clear winter's night, after classes, I would tune in, and it was a good night. I could hear no baseball, but there would be like the talk shows, and I'd listen to them because I wanted to know what was going on in Pittsburgh. It was like my Oz. Pittsburgh was my Oz. And one night I heard the director of promotions in Johnstown with the Pirates Caravan tell the host, I think it was Roy Fox, might have been Trish Beatty, that they were going to unveil a mascot for the first time. Just like the San Diego Chicken, they were going to have a pirate parrot. And they were going to open it up to anybody interested around the country. And a light bulb went off. I pulled out a pen and paper on my desk in my room, my bedroom, and I wrote this letter to this gentleman, Mr. Steve Shanwald. You don't have to worry about any more tryouts. You don't have to invite anybody. I'm your man. I'm your parrot. Sent that off. Got a form letter a few days later saying, dear interested contestant, please fill out this survey and send it back to us. Did that. And got back a letter saying you're now going to be involved in person. Come and meet us in person, and it's going to be a Q&A. I did that and got down to the final 10. And then I got another letter with a record, Leo Sayers, Long Tall Glasses, a 45 record. and you had to come up with a dance routine, and somehow found a way to do that. That's a story in itself. I'll tell you down the road. But that's a crazy story and how that happened because I couldn't dance. But my brother and my sister-in-law, along with my niece, figured out something crazy, and they said, that's your routine. Went in there. I killed it. There were about 4 judges. One, Paula Smith from the Associated Press, I still on occasion run into and thank her because she was by far my number one backer. I got a phone call a few days later back home in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, from the director of promotion, Steve Shanwald, saying, I've got good news and bad news. I thought for sure I was a lock. I was in. And he said, what do you want to hear first? I said, I guess the bad news. He says, you're not the Pirate Parent. Oh, devastated. But we see something in you. We want you to be involved in the organization. We're going to need a backup parrot because there are going to be too many situations where we've got him overbooked, and so we want you to be a backup. We want you to be an intern. We want you to go to school here, find a school. That's how I ended up at Point Park, and I worked in the promotions department as an intern and an assistant for a year, backup parrot. When the season came to an end, Pirates won the World Series. It was over. I was back in Mechanicsburg. 2 weeks later, the vice president of operations called me. They needed a clubhouse man down in, I don't know if I ever told you that, down in Bradenton, Florida, for the Florida Instructional League.
You did not tell me this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my internship was over, and I was devastated. I had met all these people, and that was my dream. Now, all of a sudden, I'm with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and now I'm back in Mechanicsburg. Now what am I going to do with my life? And he called and said, we need a clubhouse kid down in Bradenton, Florida, at Pirate City, this minor league complex in Bradenton, Florida. Desolate place. It's way different now. Mm-hmm. And back then, it was like an old Holiday Inn, which was Pirate City. And the players that were there in this complex were minor leaguers or a couple of big league players who were trying to rehab, like pitcher John Candelario was there. They also housed the Atlanta Braves, New York Yankees, and a Japanese team. So there were, I don't know how many, and that's like 4 teams. There must have been 120 players maybe total.
That's
housed.
a lot.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was the hardest job I've ever had in my life because I was it. There's no assistants. And so, people say, how do you get to where you want to go? I'm sure I've told you this, that you're doing it. If you want something badly enough, you'll get it. You just have to want it bad. I hear so many people say they'd love to do what I do, but there's always this catch. It's not always. I shouldn't say it's not fair, but oftentimes, too often for my liking, I meet with younger students or potential broadcasters, whatever it might be in your life that you want to be, and there's a hesitation about going outside your comfort zone, outside of Pittsburgh. I want to stay here, or talk about money. You can't do that. You got to drop everything, because you've got to chase your dream at all costs, and nothing will stop you. So you have to have that. I tell people I'm for those not watching, I'm extending my arms as far as they'll go. I say I've got this much enthusiasm, and now I'm placing my index finger and my thumb a centimeter apart. I've got this much talent, but I've got that much passion and enthusiasm, and I think that can win out. So that's what happened. I took the job, and from dawn until dusk, I was up I was literally cleaning toilets and jock straps. So I did that for, I don't know, the fall, approaching the winter months, couple months. It seemed like a couple years because it was unbelievably exhausting. You just get it. I have so much appreciation now for big league clubhouse managers because now it's different too. Because back then, you kind of minor league players, and they're somewhat helpful. Not that big league players aren't helpful, but I think there's more of expected out of clubhouse guys. And still, just unimaginable how much work that was for me. Got done with that in January of the following year. Again, that came up. The Florida Instructional League was done. My time as clubhouse manager was done back in Mechanicsburg. January the following year, got a phone call again from the director of promotions Steve Shamwold saying, we want to offer you a full-time job as a promotions assistant. Mm-hmm. I did that for 10 years. I did not that, but I worked at all aspects of the organization for 10 years, including eventually a liaison between the Pirates and KDK Radio and their network affiliates. It was a broadcast coordinator. It's called Director of Broadcasting now. I also, excuse me, also would write scripts, work with Lanny Fratteri and Jim Rooker, the other broadcasters, in-game promos and so on. Eventually, we had so many promos. Lanny and Rook would be on the West Coast, and we needed a quick one done. Rather than pay somebody a voice, I did it. I started doing that. I started doing a weekly show called This Week in Pirates Baseball on KDK Radio that I and a buddy of mine, Brian Tim, produced. A half-hour show every Sunday following Pirates baseball. And it was really well done, well produced. And I did public address announcing at Three River Stadium for a year. One year, Mike Lang and Steve Blass did early cable television, about 50 games. I was kind of the pre- and post-game show host, traveled with them, just did everything imaginable just to get in the business. Eventually, Lanny Fratteri said, you've got to go to the minor leagues. I did. I went to Buffalo, spent 5 years there, got the job in 1994. Sorry I'm so long-winded, but it's a long story.
It's a great story. It's an amazing story. And I'll tell you what too, Greg. That is what's all about getting into this business. You got to essentially pay your dues, and that goes for any sort of broadcasting. And kind of speaking from experience, I'm only 21, so obviously I still have a long road ahead of me. But something that I did before I got into the wrestling business, because I love love calling my wrestling
Tom
events.
Liturgy recently mentioned it too. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Trapper Tom.
But I've been calling for 880 wrestling and IWC wrestling. I even made my debut at AEW, which I wanted to share with you in a little bit as well. I got to walk out in front of 5,000 people.
Unbelievable.
And call my first ever professional match on a stage. So it was incredible.
Gosh, darn.
But again, that isn't possible without the groundwork. And you mentioned it. You worked every aspect of that Pirates organization before you can say, yeah, I called a game with them. So I can kind of say the same thing. I ran camera, pulled cable. You got to essentially do the groundsman
And
work.
it doesn't mean, Austin, as we've shared before, it doesn't mean, I know so many people that your dream, you've got your sight set on something, but there are forks in the road along the way. And as you mentioned, pull cable, cameraman. I directed scoreboard operations. I was kind of the director of when we first did video replay at Old Three River Stadium. A public address announcing. You mentioned that I did weekend sports for the NBC TV affiliate in Youngstown, Ohio. I could have gone a number of directions. They offered me the sports director's job in Youngstown to do the weekly sports anchoring. I could have done that for my whole career. It doesn't mean that you get opportunities. You got to take those opportunities, and as you know, you appreciate so much more and you learn so much more when you do all those other things. It helps you in your ultimate goal.
Exactly. This is not to take a shot at any aspiring broadcasters or fellow students, but I see so many people say, oh, yeah, I'm going to go and co-anchor on College Game Day, or I'm going to call this sport for this team. And I think to myself, I'm like, what kind of groundwork are you even doing to get there? Yeah, getting your education is important, but you got to be able to put in that work. You got to be able to run a camera. You got to pull cable. You got to learn how to direct, produce, edit, do B-roll. All that stuff is what factors into eventually becoming a broadcaster or eventually becoming a media personality.
So are these people saying that's what they want to be or that's what they're going to be without getting so from point A to point B, that's where they're going.
Exactly.
Without thinking about what's going to get them there.
Yeah, there's nothing in between A and B in their eyes, I guess.
That's the thing that's frustrating is that people, there's a mindset, I think, you would know better than I do.
Oh, there is.
Is there?
Oh, yeah. Everyone's too caught up in their phones now, social media. That's where they're all caught up in.
Yeah. But again, thinking that it's the easy path. Like, I'll click my fingers, I'll be there. It's so bizarre. I had, I've not told you this, I'm sure. I don't think I have. But years ago, my brother had a Christmas party, and I'm there, a lot of people at his house. And this woman comes up, and she goes, I need to talk to you. She's kind of almost scolding me. I said, oh, boy. And she says, my son should have your job. She's like pointing her finger, like, whoa.
I think I remember this.
And I said, okay, well, that's great. And she says, but he's not gotten the break. Okay, what's he do? He's in pharmaceutical sales. oh, has he done anything in terms of trying to get? No, but he knows all the statistics. He knows all the players. I don't know if she said more than you, but she was inferring that. And he should have a job. And so he wants to do it, and he's never gotten the break. Okay, is he willing to go to Bradford, Pennsylvania, Des Moines, Iowa? Oh, no. He wants to be on the ESPN affiliate here in Pittsburgh, and he can't get on. I mean, that in a nutshell tells you all you need to know. Mm-hmm. You don't want it badly enough then. And they think they're owed it. Like, you're not owed anything.
You don't, and I don't want to try and sound like I'm hyping myself up or anything, but one of my experiences this past weekend, I went on the road on Friday to Dayton, Ohio with my good friend Joe Dombrowski, a fellow wrestling broadcaster. He's been in the business for about 30 years. And the entire point of that car ride was just to be in the car for 4 hours and learn from him, ask for advice, pick his brain, kind of get to know the business a little bit. I didn't get home till 5 a.m. that next day, and I was already calling another wrestling event myself that following day at noon. So I had to turn around and wake right back up. And again, it's all about that grind. It's all about the work.
Wow, what and it was well worth it.
It was well worth it.
Yeah.
It made my broadcasting so much better the next day.
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
So you wanted to just be in the car just to soak it all in.
Soak it all in, go to his event, watch him how he does it, and kind of take something from it and apply it to my skills. And again, that's what we kind of have to do in this business. Just like how me and you met to grab coffee. Pick your brain a little bit. When Josh Getzoff came down, pick his brain a little bit. It's all about picking the professional's brain.
Yeah. And
networking is key.
And I also think I've always been kind of down on people that say it's who you know, because that's not how I got there.
No.
Some people think it's all about, I got to talk to these people. It's Tim DeBacco. Do you know that name at all?
I do not.
He spent about 35 years, I think, doing public address announcing for the Pittsburgh Pirates at Three Rivers and PNC Park.
Okay.
He went to Clarion. And when I was in the front office, he called me one day and asked if he might be able to meet up with me for lunch at some point. Never heard him. He just cold dialed. And back then, again, no internet to find out anything. He just called the front office and asked for, I guess, the broadcasting coordinator. And we ended up sitting down having lunch, and it was you just tell how sincere he was and interested in me. And we all have big egos, but he didn't. There was nothing phony about it. He and I are best of friends to this day, and it was just a chance to. Oh, I'm curious to know how you got your job. This is what I do for a living. I wouldn't mind at some point doing some broadcasting down the road. He might have worked for the Clarion College station. But I was the public address announcer, as I said, at Three River Stadium for a year. After my year was up, I think that's when the opportunity to do the WFMJ TV in Youngstown, Ohio opportunity came up, which means I had to give up the PA announcing. And the VP of PR for the Pirates is going to have an open tryout, essentially, to bring in a new voice at Three Rivers. And so he was accepting some resumes. I don't know that they made it quite public, but he got some local TV talent and so on, called them, some of the anchors, bring them in to do a test run. This is over the winter. And I called Tim DeBacco. I said, would you be interested? Very much so. Mentioned that to our PR guy. I said, you've got to bring this guy in. He's got to be one of your 10 finalists. He did. He came in, and he got the job. And it was all because, again, not phony. Tim's MO was not to, I'm going to go meet Greg Brown, talk to him for a while, stay in touch with him, and eventually I'm going to get a job. Mm-hmm. That was not it at all. It was just very sincere, like wanting to, as you said, to soak it all in, to learn how others do it and maybe learn from it. Yeah. But it is because of that relationship that was forged that allowed then, when this opportunity came up, for me to go to them and say, you've got to bring in Tim DeBacco. And 35 years later, he was still the public address announcer.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And again, it's all about those connections you make early on and how sincere, how you hold yourself accountable, how you hold yourself up. And I mean, you've probably been given so much great advice to so many other people out there, but I want to know, what was the best piece of advice you were given in your early stages?
Oh, boy. I think that goes back to my upbringing, where I just tried to do the right thing through my parents more than anything. Not stray off to what I see happening now in different forms. You talk about social media and how people get caught up in the wrong things. They waste their time. It's a waste of time to worry about what other people are doing with their lives, to compare yourself to them rather than focus on what you need to do. I think just the generally hard work and enthusiasm and doing the right things, I think maybe those are the top three. If you do that, you'll end up being in a good place. When I got the job with the Pirates, I will say, again, I don't know if I told you this, that one of my mentors, but in fact, I wouldn't be here without him, the late Mike Lang, became a great friend and an incredible mentor. He gave me my first real break back. I mentioned that I was doing pre and post game for cable. He just one day out of the blue left the booth doing play-by-play, and he says, "Go ahead, take over." And I put a headset on, and here I'm doing Major League Baseball, an inning of play-by-play. Now that's crazy, but he took a gamble on me, and there I had an inning of Major League Baseball play-by-play on a tape that I could use, and that allowed me to end up go to Youngstown, Ohio, to do that sports anchoring. But he said, "Be yourself, kid. You got to be yourself. You do, yeah." He always, "Yeah, you got to be yourself. Don't be a phony. Yeah, especially in this town, they know phonies," and that has stood out because people, you'll hear critics big time now with social media more than ever, and the higher you go up in the ranks in whatever occupation, the more they're slinging arrows at you because they want to knock you down, and you have to understand that. So you get thick skin. And then there's also about the first or second year here, one of my brothers works in town as an attorney. And early on in my Pirate play-by-play career, he called me one day and he said, "Hey, been talking to my buddies, and you're getting good grades. They like you. But a couple things," he said. "Number one, you're calling Bob Walk on the air Walkie."
They don't like that?
Well, I had known Bob because I was in the front office and Bob was a pitcher. Not real well, but well enough. And then certainly then in spring training and then, I had reconnected with him. He and I were broadcasters for the first time in 1994. So we were kind of rookie broadcasters together. And we're good friends to this day. And it's gotten even closer as the years have gone on. But I felt close enough that's why I called him off the air, Walkie. I thought about that. Okay, I put it in the back of my mind. I said, "What else?" He said, "They think you get too excited about the Pirates at times." I said, "Okay, thank you very much," said my brother. "Thanks. I'll take both into consideration." And I hung up the phone. I thought about it, and I like all input because you take it all in and you filter it. You take the critiques and you think about. And I've had some great advice over the years from people, fans. A couple of them that have stood out like phenomenal to this day. One, I got a letter once many, many years ago saying, you keep saying that he leads, he's got 10 stolen bases, or he has struck out 20 times, this batter in the first 100 games. Well, what perspective are you giving us? Like, what that's meaningless to us unless you say, the next closest is 60 strikeouts. I said, "Geez, of course, he's right. Yes, you can't just give a number. You got to give it some perspective." But anyway, so I thought about it. Number two, okay. The one thing, Bob Walkie, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, he's right. Who am I? Who's this kid from Buffalo? People didn't know I was in the front office. They don't know who I am. All they know is I'm this new announcer from Buffalo. I'd spent 5 years there. I did Bison games, Buffalo Bills. And all of a sudden, I am so familiar with this semi-legend, Bob Walk, that you have the audacity to call him Walkie. Because I'm putting myself in the listener's head, and I'm thinking, they're right. And to this day, I've never called him Walkie on the air. I call him Bob on the air. Good. Okay, that's number two. You get too excited about the Pirates. Well, as I said, my good friend Mike Lang, I miss him dearly. He passed away at spring training this year. and I was a fan of Mike's growing up, an idol, listening to KDK radio back then. They had the rights to the Penguins, so I'd listened in Harrisburg to him. And wait a minute now, Mike, how excited he gets for a preseason game or early. For me, NHL, I'm sorry, but the first couple months are meaningless because half the teams go in. I mean, it doesn't matter. So the first few games and people might say the same about baseball. To a degree, that's true. But certainly preseason. And then the voice of the so-called voice of the Steelers was the late, great Myron Cope. Mm-hmm. And I would listen to Steeler games, and Myron on a preseason football game, if the Steelers scored a touchdown or so, he'd go crazy. Yeah, look at it. What a great play. Go on and on and on.
Good impression.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute. It's okay for a Steeler announcer to go crazy for a preseason. It's okay for a Penguin. But the minute somebody gets excited about the Pirates, whoa, now it's a different story. So the more I thought about, the angrier I got. And I said, no, I'm not going to change that. And it goes back to Mike Lang saying, don't change this. They know who you are. Don't be a phony. And so to this day, I've absolutely not. In fact, I think I called my brother and said, tell your buddies, number one, they're right about the other thing. Tell them you know what you can do with your idea about. In fact, I hope you listen to some games because I'm going to get more excited than ever before now. Now you really got me angry. It drives me nuts that you can't get excited about the Pirates. Baloney. And I get excited about great plays regardless, by the way. Pirates visiting team. It's a bummer, but I appreciate great sport and great athletes.
Yeah, you acknowledge the sport of it.
Right.
And a lot of people too, like, it's funny because Josh Getzoff is now the play-by-play guy for the Penguins. You got Rob King, who's doing more Steelers radio now. You got Bill Hillgrove, who's doing like some Pitt stuff, but has been legendary within the Steelers. And then there's you with the Pirates. And every time I listen to each and every single one of you, you could tell the passion's there. You could tell the excitement, the enthusiasm. It's there.
Well, I've heard people be critical. Understand. I get it. In fact, I wonder often as a kid growing up, first of all, if I were not a Pirates fan, so I compare it to when I was growing up in Harrisburg, I hated the Phillies. All my buddies were Philly fans because we were closer to Philly. We were a couple hours, 4 hours from Pittsburgh, but that's Philly's country, mainly South Central Pennsylvania. But the only station that I could get real clearly, some Baltimore, we're an hour and a half or so from Baltimore, but Harry Callis, who, by the way, later I would meet and I wouldn't call him necessarily a friend, but certainly a colleague, which I idolized him. But I got so mad when the Phillies did good, and he got excited. So for that reason, people say, growing up, did you like Harry? No, I couldn't stand Harry Callis. And the reason was because he was the Philly announcer and was excited about the Phillies. It angered me. Well, so if I'm growing up and I'm not a Pirates fan, I could understand not being a Greg Brown fan. Because if you don't like
that is true.
The Pirates, you're not going to like somebody being enthusiastic about the Pirates. I get that. I think most of the true Pirate fans, I could be wrong. I mean, probably like it. It's genuine. I feel like I'm one of them, and I try to stay professional. But people say I've heard some suggest that you need to be more middle of the road. Well, I think that's the phony part. If you are a home team announcer and you're trying to be middle of the road and not a, quote, homer, you're a phony because you can't be with a team, especially in baseball, from early February until early October, sometimes, hopefully not too distant future, late October, with these guys every single day with few exceptions, getting to know them, getting to know their personalities, and not root for them. That doesn't make sense. I was never a Bills fan growing up. I was a Bears fanatic, but then when I did Bills football, to this day I root for the Buffalo Bills because I got to know them. I know the organization. You can't help but root for them. Again, you're phony if you're the other way. If you're trying not to be a homer. And by the way, that's why teams have the rights to these stations, and teams have the rights to broadcast these games because they want you to be the homer, the mouthpiece for these teams and promote these teams. That's the whole point of having home team announcers.
Exactly. It's supposed to help out the smaller market teams too, like your Pirates, your Rockies, and some other teams. You got to be able to have that voice of that one.
Well, yeah,
team.
I mean, again, that's why there people pay a lot of money to maintain the rights for the play-by-play rights of the and they don't want somebody that is not passionate about it. That wouldn't make sense.
Something so many fans look over, though. But speaking of the Pirates, I do want to talk to you about the Pittsburgh Pirates because this, like we mentioned earlier, this is your first real time talking about since the season has ended. And I want to know, you've been there throughout the entire season. You've got to see what happened with the Pirates, the change from Shelton to Don Kelly, who's also a former Point Park Pioneer. What was your thoughts initially on the Pirates season?
Terrible. It was incredibly disappointing.
Hey, at least you're honest.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I have been over the years. People may not want to admit that, but there's no sugarcoating a bad season, and it was. Now, having said that, as I've said often, also Austin, that just because the season is bad doesn't mean there aren't exciting, great moments in a long baseball season. Of course, there are, and there were, and great storylines. And it doesn't mean that you give up. Again, going back to my childhood, when the Chicago Bears were one of the worst teams in football every single year, they wouldn't sniff the play. They wouldn't sniff 500. And I couldn't wait. They'd get crushed on one Sunday, but I couldn't wait till the next Sunday. They could be at literally 0-8 one year. And my brother and I drove from Harrisburg to Chicago to see them play another 0-8 team, his favorite team, the Washington Redskins. 2-0. We couldn't wait. And I mean, I just couldn't wait for the fun because I wanted them. I thought now's the week they're going to win. Back then, Walter Payton was the star running back, and all I knew all the players, and just I cannot comprehend anybody who abandons their team. That does not make sense. In life, it doesn't make sense. When things go tough, you just quit, you abandon. No. Relationships are tough. They're difficult. They're complicated. And that's the same way with being a fan. You're a fan for reasons well beyond winning. You shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be a fan just because they're a good team and winning. Anybody can do that. I think that just because this was a bad season from wins and losses doesn't mean that there weren't great stories. There were. There always are. And one of them, you mentioned Don Kelly. What an incredible story he is. Mm-hmm. The Point Park kid. He's the first Pittsburgh-born Pirates manager since Bill McKechnie, who I think was from Wilkinsburg. Bill McKechnie led the 1925 Pirates to a World Series. Now, we did have a Newcastle guy in Chuck Tanner who led the Pirates to a World Series in 1979, so maybe those connections will wind up, Don Kelly will be the third of that trifecta to be a Pittsburgh area if you want to expand it to Newcastle. Mm-hmm. But it's a unique opportunity for him and for the team, and he's just one of many great stories.
And Don Kelly wasn't the only one that was brought back. Ben Sherrington was as well. Do you believe this was a good move on behalf of the Pirates organization?
I know it's tough to be a GM. I know it's tough to be a GM in a small market team. The one thing I'll say is that Ben knows that everybody knows that this is the year for him. There's like no getting around that. It's you hate to say it, but this is it. And so much is riding on the line for him personally and for the team that I kind of like that, because when you bring somebody new in, they're going to have that grace period, that honeymoon. There is no honeymoon. The honeymoon is over for Ben and his people and the baseball operations department. So they're kind of all in now. I cannot wait till after the World Series, because that's when trades will happen. That's when free agency opens up. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to be as active maybe as they have been in, I don't know, for an off season. this could be one to remember. They are going to be very, very busy this offseason.
Absolutely. When you still have Paul Skeens under that rookie deal as well, you still got so many great players on this team. Obviously, we got rid of some like Brian Hayes, David Bednar, but I mean, some would say he's on the hot seat. Some would say he's not. I'm excited though for next season because, like you said, this is going to kind of light a fire now under the Pirates organization to go out there and actually make these moves.
Well, I don't, there's no debating he's on the hot seat like that. You can't, he would say he. Well, I don't know if he'd say it, but my gosh, they've practically come out and said it. Everyone has. That's not a secret. Yeah, I mean, Ben Cherington knows he has to win. This team has to win, and again, I kind of like that pressure on him and the organization, that there's no more excuses. This is it. And that's why it's going to be such, for me, a fascinating offseason. Normally, even last year, the last couple of years, they player now, Adam Frazier, Tommy Pham, this kind of the same old, same old. This year's going to be different. You mentioned they traded some players to allow them flexibility this offseason to spend more than they have in a long, long time. I don't think the trading period is over either. I mean, it's going to start up again, and it's going to be a real fascinating winter. And I think that's what I'm most excited. I've never been as excited about anticipating trades and free agent signings. I can't remember the last time I've been this excited about it.
Yeah, it's time for the Pirates to go guns a-blazing this offseason.
Yeah.
I got to know that the World Series is going on, the playoffs of the World Series is going on right now. Do you have any final predictions on who do you think is going to be in it?
Well, no predictions necessarily, but I thought during the season that regardless, people wondered about, the makeup of some of these clubs, and it's always the Dodgers have the most talent. There's a side of me that thinks, if the Dodgers win and win it all, that might be what's best for the Pirates in baseball, unfortunately, because for the first time in a long time, big spending teams like the Yankees, I almost feel like the Yankees need to get knocked off for this to happen. But the owners need to come together and say, okay, enough is enough. We have to fix this system. It's got to be better than this. We've got to somehow find a way to close that gap. I don't know what it is, but the smart people get together and figure it out. And so the Dodgers spent so much more money than even the Yankees being upset, which is crazy, that finally they were going to say, if they get knocked out and the Dodgers win it all, even the Yankee ownership group, the Steinbrenners, are going to say, okay, we've got to fix this. So I think that I'm kind of rooting in a weird way for the Dodgers.
All right, Dodgers is your favorite then. Well, Greg, I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to do this and come on the podcast. But I'm going to end things off asking one final question today. It's the most important question you've probably ever been asked.
I bet.
And this is a question I ask every guest on Two Jagoffs. And it is, what is the go-to restaurant? What's your favorite place to grab some food?
Austin, people ask me that about like when I go on the road, and you must love San Francisco and Chicago and all these places because they got the great restaurants. I'm just not one of those guys. I'm just, I go to eat to sustain myself. I don't go like looking at the greatest restaurants. Matt Capps, when he's on the road with us, he's our restaurant guy.
Okay.
So he'll pick out restaurants, and in town, my gosh, I'm like I get sushi stuff.
Okay.
I'm up in the North Hills area, so I do a lot of sushi. Tomo Sushi on McKnight Road, for example, is a great spot. A lot of takeout, but I'm open to suggestions. Do you have suggestions? What's yours? Have you ever been asked that?
I have not been asked that on the podcast.
What's yours?
I'm not gonna lie.
Keep asking.
I'm gonna be kind of basic here. I'm a big Texas Roadhouse, Red Robin fan.
Are you?
Those are my two go-to restaurants.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah, I like those restaurants a lot. Good steak and shake every once in a while when you're on the road.
Yeah. You know what? Because I'm moving all the time. I've got stuff. I live out of my car during the summer and winter, basically. That's the most unorganized. But so I'm on the road eating a lot, and not to promote Starbucks, but their food is pretty darn good.
They don't got
the
bad
egg
food.
bites.
Yeah, those egg bites are so good. The little bacon egg ones.
Yeah.
They're.
They got the new sausage ones now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I gotta try those.
So
I gotta try them
how about
now.
You will never have anybody say their favorite spot to eat is Starbucks ever.
No,
never.
Probably never. I've had somebody say McDonald's though, so I mean.
Oh really?
I'll take that.
Well, that's good.
I've had McDonald's as an answer.
That's good. I was going to try. I used to be a pizza connoisseur, but I can't even come up with a good pizza joint anymore.
So you're pretty much open to anything.
Yeah. If it's and I'm a easy easy to please. It's hard for me to eat something. Oh boy, this is awful. No, I don't know the last time I've done that.
Well, I'm a burger and fry kind of guy.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Keep it plain Jane.
Yeah, can't beat that.
No, can't beat that at all. But Greg, again, I do appreciate you so much for coming on. I know me and you've been pretty close now for about a year now, I would say, which is still crazy to say. So thank you so much for taking the time to come down here. I just wanted to give you the final words, though. Any final words for the audience before we end things off?
Geez, Austin, thanks for having me on here. I hope you'll invite me again, sure. Especially after the moves that are going to be made in the off season. My final word is just to keep the faith. There's a line in Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen that movie?
Greatest movie of all time. I love
then you know it.
Love it.
The two characters are Andy Dufresne and Red, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Andy writes the letter, I believe, or maybe it's when he opens it up. Red opens it up at the wall when Red gets out of prison. Do you remember that?
Yes, it is Red.
And yep. Okay, and Red and he says something. I'm not going to be a direct quote, but something like, "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things." I love that line because to me that's kind of describing the Pirates and life. Like, have faith, have hope. Otherwise, what are we doing here? So that's my hardcore, serious advice and suggestions to people. Have hope. I do all the time. Just keep the faith, have hope, and next year we're going to raise the Jolly Roger a bunch.
Let's go Buccos.
Let's go Bucks.
Hell yeah. I'll tell you what, the best way to end off an episode is with a Shawshank Redemption quote. I will take that. As soon as you said it, my ears perked up. I was like,
great.
That and Remember the Titans. Those are my two favorite movies.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
You never seen Remember the
Titans? I don't think
so. Oh, greatest football movie of all time.
Shoot.
No,
Rudy's the best.
Rudy?
Rudy. You ever seen Rudy?
I have, but Remember the Titans? You never seen
that? Do you cry at Remember the Titans? See, I cry every time at Rudy. You cried at Remember the Titans? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll have to...
It's pretty sentimental.
All right.
I'm surprised you've never seen that movie.
Yeah, I'll have to put it on my wish list this winter. But the tear-jerking movies, sports, Rudy, the basketball movie, Indiana, Hoosiers.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And you won't know this one unless you're really big-time sports movie enthusiast, is Pride of the Yankees, the story of Lou Gehrig.
Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh, that's like a 1940s movie where Babe Ruth is actually in it, literally in this movie. It stars Gary Cooper, and it's about Lou Gehrig when he finds out he's got this disease, ALS, and so those three sports movies always bring me to tears. Oh, and Brian's song. My gosh, Brian's song was the story of Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo. I grew up watching that movie because I was a Bears fanatic, and I loved Brian's song. I memorized the lines in that movie.
Good comedy one too is Jerry Maguire. That's a good one.
Oh yeah,
there.
That's
Jerry's
a
classic.
That'll make you laugh.
Show me the money.
Yeah. That'll make you laugh. That'll make you laugh. And there's some other, obviously Sandlot makes you laugh.
Yep.
Some great fun baseball movies for sure.
Yeah, so many great ones out there. But Greg, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, we will see you on the next one. Peace.